Today we have a workshop on Altlayer, which is a roll-up service platform that allows people to deploy application-tailored roll-ups. The agenda for today is basically we'll have 5 things to discuss today. One is we'll talk about a little bit about Altlayer, what we do, and how we help people, especially those who want to build application-tailored roll-ups. We'll show you a quick demo, and you can do that as well. So we'll show you how to deploy a roll-up using our dashboard that we have. You do not write even a single line of code. You still be able to have a roll-up that you could customize in all sorts of ways. And we'll be deploying a fully on-chain game called 2048. Some of you might be familiar with this game. It was developed a long time back, I think 10 years ago. And it was developed in a Web 2 context, but what we're going to do is to deploy that on this roll-up. We'll have maybe 5 minutes of gameplay for you to experience what happens when you deploy such a game on a roll-up. And then we'll have about 5 minutes of Q&A if you have any questions. So very quickly, we all love every single general purpose chain out there, including Ethereum, Optimism, zk Sync, Arbitrum, and whatnot. But they're not ideal. I mean, they're ideal for people who want to deploy quickly because all you have to do is to write your contract, build a front end, and then you're good to go. However, when you are looking for, sort of driving a huge number of transaction volume in a short span of time, we have seen that general purpose chains are not very ideal because you start to see gas wars and gas issues very soon. And so it's a good idea to sometimes go and build application-specific chains, and in particular, we're talking about application-specific rollups. And we have been building application-specific rollups for a while now, even before OP Stack or Arbitrum Orbit or some of the other SDKs that are out there were a thing. And so you could go to dashboard.org technology. This is one that's actually currently in production, but we won't be playing with this today, but we'll have a staging version where you can mess things around. It basically offers a platform which is a no-code framework where you can go and deploy a rollup. You could customize your rollups, and you do not have to write any code for that. So basically, it acts as a wrapper around some of the SDKs that are out there in the market today. Why would you use something like Altlayer's Rollup as Service? Because one is you can experiment. So if you're thinking about building a fully on-chain game and you feel like if I put this on-chain game on an existing general-purpose chain out there, then it might create gas war-like or gas issues for everyone. So you want something that's easy to experiment with, where you can deploy quickly. And most importantly, do not want to waste time and spend time on kind of putting out all the infra, which includes, for example, your sequencers, your RPC endpoints, explorers, and so on. So everything gets offered as a managed service for you so that you can focus on game development and building that and not worry about any of the tertiary things that comes with it. There are 2 types of rollups that we offer. One that we call, that's the persistent rollup. So consider this as an instance of Optimism, Arbitrum, for your specific application. You could customize it in all sorts of ways. The second one is ephemeral rollups. So these are rollups that you can spin up, and you can host your application on that rollup for as long as you want. When you feel like you're done with it, you don't need that anymore, you can take it down. And so it's ideal for applications that require a block space, but for a short period of time only. So ideal for kind of mini games or games that you like Dark Forest that you spin up and you play for a while. But you don't need that for a long term. You could use, for example, FlashLayer for games for NFT mint events. So you'd host, for example, your mint event on this rollup, and when all your NFTs have been sold out, or you have airdropped all your NFTs, you take that infrastructure down. And when that happens, all the assets, including NFTs or tokens that you had on the rollup, will be settled back on the base chain. And this way, you get all the benefits of an app-specific infrastructure, but also the benefits that comes from a general-purpose chain, for example, liquidity and composability. So I would skip this one. The main thing is that when the assets go back on the base chain, you enjoy all the benefits that you would miss on if you're only on an app chain. Persistent, as I mentioned earlier, it's a chain that exists there forever, and you can use that for longer-term applications like GameFi, SocialFi, those sort of things. We have been talking to quite a few people out there, mostly building games, and they have come to us and they requested over time that we'd love to. It's great that you manage the sequencers and RPC endpoints for us, but it'd be good if we could run these sequencers ourselves, or we could outsource this to our decentralized community. And so we are kind of transitioning from Altlayer 1.0 to 2.0 model, where it will be much more open and permissionless. So if you wanted to say, let's say I want to have 5 sequencers, and you want these sequences to be run by your community members, that's possible. That'd be possible to do. So this is kind of how it works today. And by the way, all the roll-up as service provider, they work in the model on top. So you basically have either an SDK like OP Stack, or you have something like a front end on top of that. And from there, you can go and deploy different types of roll-ups, and you can use different DA layers or settlement layers, and have fault-proof, validity proofs. And what's happening right now is we're moving from this architecture to more of like this, where you would have a layer that we call beacon layer, which is kind of like an interlayer between your rollup and the base chain, or the base DA layer, and that acts as a network where you can find sequencers, and it basically allows people to kind of provides a marketplace for sequencers, but also other node providers. So for example, if you launch different types of rollups and you want interoperability across those rollups, this beacon layer can be the network that does it. So basically, it will check the state of the rollup on one side, and it allows the sequencers to process transactions on the other side of the rollup. We have been doing quite a few things. People have been playing with our flash layer and persistent rollups in all sorts of ways. We hosted Dark Forest several times in the past, and every single time we did it, we had about 200K transactions on that rollup. It has been used for all sorts of mint events, both airdrop style mint events, so free mints, but also paid mint events. And so it's interesting to see how people are using this in gaming and NFT context. The Altlayer ecosystem is expanding quite a bit. So we are starting with supporting different types of rollup SDKs. So if you are a fan of Celestia's SDK in terms of launching sovereign rollups, you could do that as well. We are also in the process of integrating OP Stack, Arbitrum Orbit. And if you wanted some sort of you don't like, let's say, the validating bridge because it may come with a long withdrawal period, you could go and pick external interoperability solution providers like Hyperlane as well. So that allows you to have a much more modular and open infrastructure for interoperability. And we have been working with a lot of game companies that are building using the stack that we provide. One of the most interesting one is this company called Double Jump Tokyo. They are a game studio based out of Japan with some of the biggest IPs in gaming, for example, Pac-Man, some of the old school style games. And they are building and using our stack for their game-based chain. Now we'll move to show you a quick demo of how this dashboard looks like and what you can do with it. So if you want to play around with it, here's a QR code. You can scan it, and then you could go and play with the dashboard. Ajay, take over.
Use your laptop.
Yeah, sure.
So, how to switch to this one?
Oops, sorry. I have to drag it. Still showing this. Okay.
So, yeah, so everyone can just log into the dashboard. For today demo, right, we are using this staging dashboard as Amri just showed you, right? You can just log in via this SDG dashboard .alt.technology, and inside it, right, you have multiple, tiers to choose, like restaking trial, free trial, and starter tier and developer tier. So like for the first row, right, they are sort of the same. It's the way for you to quickly spin off a flash layer. So you can deploy a contract on this flash layer, and once the your event, right, empty or game is done, so you can call the protocol to basically roll up the states back to the settlement layer. And then dev tier is something we are finishing like a few months ago. It's basically provide you multi-sequencer EVM and WASM compatible rollup with fraud proof. And same here, right? You can select your settlement layer and either on Ethereum BNB chain or even like Polygon and some other rollups like Linear. And for the settlement layer, later I will show you. And then, as you can see, right, we also have the multiple functionality for you, like manage your flash layer. You can just terminate them or like sort of it shows the status. And then we, at the same time, we're also providing the IDE, so it's easier for you to directly deploy your contract into the rollup. You just spin off, and then you can call this contract. The cool part that we also have integrated GPT, so you can sort of just like describe what kind of L2 you want or the rollup you want, and define the flash layer name. And the cool part that and then it will generate the sort of the specs for your rollup, and then you can spin off via this one. At the same time, you can also ask him to change the name to Modular to something like that. It will also like sort of help to change the name automatically using the GPT. Same thing, you can also use it to generate a contract and deploy a contract on your dedicated L2. Yeah, beyond that, I will just quickly show you how to run something like starter tier, January 1. So if you really want to have a try, as Amri mentioned, right, you can just ask for the promo code. And once you have a promo code, you can just type in the promo code. And this is sort of like configurations you can have. So we have, right now we have 3 modes. One is the fair sequencing. It's the first come, first serve. Second one is gasless. There's 0 gas, so you don't really need to pay any gas. It's mainly for games and FTs, which they want to onboard as many users as possible without any gas. And beyond that, we also have the normal blockchain gas option, right? So if you like higher gas, you can get higher chance to have your transaction included into the block. Same thing here, right? You can just define your like sort of flash layer name, and also you can change like sort of gas limit and block time. Meanwhile, also the native symbol or token you want, and yeah, and beyond that, you can also have your native balance. By default, we incorporate the Foresight and Explorer into it. After that, you can just click button and create this flash layer. Typically, it only takes for 2 minutes for you to spin off a flash layer. We can just wait for a while and then see how it works. Yeah, beyond that, as I mentioned, right, we also have something very cool, and you can also try out what we call like sort of this dev tier. The cool part that so basically we need to choose a longer time. Doesn't matter. The cool part that, right, as I can show you next, is basically it provides you more like sort of a modes to choose. Like you can choose the number of nodes, and for this one we have a native bridge incorporated. And also you need to select your settlement layer, like Ethereum, let's use Sepolia. And by default, because we are providing this fraud proof, right, so you need to select like sort of the checkpoint value and also challenge period. For example, longer challenge, then you don't really need to regularly post the data too frequently. And beyond that, you can also configure like native token symbol and all things. Yeah, for this one, we can also just click a button and quickly duplicate. Yeah, for this one, we need to define a new name, modular dev. It should be okay. Because we have the proof system for this one, right? So you need to really deposit like sort of the tokens for posting the data to the L1 or the DA layer. So in that case, we need to deposit some tokens there, and yeah. So beyond that, right? As we can see, so yeah, wait a second. As Amr mentioned, right, we are a decentralized protocol. There's also layer called beacon layer to help us to coordinate all the different rollups. So in that case, we also need to register on this layer. So we just deposit something like this. Yeah. So once the once this sort of the deposit is done, right? So the network will automatically spin off. Then let me check the transaction. Yeah, should be okay now. Takes a little bit of time to confirm the transaction on the Celestia testnet. Yeah, so we can just wait for it, and I think our sort of flash layer one is already done, right? As you can see, like typically it takes 1 or 2 minutes. So what you can see, right, you already have the faucet, so you can really deposit. I mean, to get some faucet tokens if you want people to use your rollup, right? At the same time, there's also Block Explorer for you to use, and yeah, for this one, as you can see, right, it's very straightforward. And you can either use the free tier, you can use the starter tier yourself, and just spin off. And then, like, there's another one we set it up like yesterday. This is called linear. This one is a dev tier, so it probably takes more time because we need automatically deploy the contracts. For this one, you can see, right, we also have the bridge ready, so you can just bridge the tokens from the sort of settlement layer to your own like to your own L2, the one you just set it up. For this one, I'm not sure whether I have tokens. Let me check. Yeah, once I move to Celestia. Yeah, for this one, you need like sort of things is connected to the linear testnet. Yeah, connected to the linear testnet, you need some testnet tokens, and then you can basically bridge down to your own like sort of rollup, and later you can also withdraw. Yeah, but for the dev tier, right, there's a better explorer, as you can see. Like you can check all the transactions and contracts you deploy. Yeah, this sort of the current dashboard and we have, and for all the developers, you can just use your own like sort of a single sign-on like Google, right? Logging into it, and then you can launch whatever sort of self-defined rollups yourself. Either it's for flash layer or it's for a persistent rollup you want. Yeah, if any of you like want to have a try, it can just contact us. Beyond that, right, as Amri mentioned, because we are building our own test stack, so we put a lot of efforts on improving the performance for dedicated like these rollups. So in that case, we have this, as I just mentioned, right, we have the multi-sequencer system with fraud proof. So it's quite decentralized and also secure, right? At the same time, we also make the performance as fast as possible. So one example we provide, or the infrastructure we provide for our gaming partners, is this fully like game optimized rollups. And this is just one example. It's 2048. Everyone can just use your mobile phone or your laptop. You can just use your mobile phone to open this sort of link. It's 2049. And let me show you. Give me some time. Slow. Let me redo it again. Yeah, so you can quickly go to it, right? So the thing is, the rule for this game is very simple. So you can swipe left, right, up, and down. Once you have the same, once you have the tiles with the same number, and then you can merge them. Like for example, 2, 2, right? You can merge them into a larger number, like double it. And then the goal that you basically combine as many tiles as possible to quickly reach the number 2048. So the cool part that, as you can see, right, we can quickly if you are using a laptop, you can quickly use your keyboard, left, right, and up, down, and quickly switch it, and basically it will, for every move, it's one transaction on the rollup. So that's a really cool part. So it's a fully on-chain game, and it's super fast. So basically, you couldn't see any latency, right? It's just regularly some network issue. But anyway, this is something we provide for our gaming partners. So we achieve this latency less than 100 milliseconds. So you can build whatever it's a fully on-chain game as you want. You don't need to change your code. It's fully EVM compatible. You can just deploy your Solidity contract. But at the same time that I show you, right? So you can really enjoy the super fast execution provided by our tech stack. Yeah, you can just have a try. As I just showed you, right? It's quite smooth, and every move is a transaction on chain. So you can just click, and you can see the transaction here. So so that's sort of like on our side, right? We see we made a lot of progress on the performance of the execution layer. So previously, if we want to build some fully on-chain game, right, we have to wait for a lot of time. For example, there's a constant block time, 2 seconds or even 15 seconds. So in that case, right, you really couldn't build, that sort of fully on-chain game providing for Web 2 users. So in that case, no Web 2 user really want to use MetaMask, click, and wait for another few seconds, right, for one move. But here, since we are having this game-focused rollup or this test stack, so you can just quickly, like sort of run it, and basically all the users can enjoy this low latency or almost no latency fully on-chain game experience. Yeah. So everyone can just have a try, either have a try this game or just have a try our sort of dashboard. Yeah. You want?
Yeah, just very quickly, I'll try to close off. So the game that Yaochi showed, as you said, it's a fully on-chain game. It might seem very simple because the moves that you're making are basically 4 moves. So you can either go up, down, left, or right. But this is the contract that corresponds to the on-chain game logic. So it's well, you have starting from the storage part, you have basically when the game has ended, you have just a simple Boolean. You have the owner. So basically, every single game is a new instance within this map. So when you start, you are one of the owners, so basically a player in the system. And this scores keeps track of which player has how much score. And you have this board, which basically this 4x4 tile associated to each single player. And then mostly after that, you just have you start. This is when you start. You basically create a new a tile for a board for the player, and you assign the person who started the game to be the sender, to be the owner of this tile, and then you initiate with some randomness. And then you have these moves going up, moves going down, up. So this is down. You will have a left and right, which is basically the mathematical thing, which is basically if you move, all the slides move until they hit the next tile. And if two tiles have the same number and they're close to each other, they will add up. So that's kind of what the logic here is. And then lastly, yeah, these are some of the basic functions to get the board and scores and so on. So one cool thing, this contract basically, there are two ways of implementing this contract where you could have one contract per player. So basically, when you start a new game, you get a new contract. But in this one, it basically combines all the contracts and all the boards into one single contract. So it basically keeps track of all the different users that might be playing at the same time. So this allows you to, for example, to run a competition or tournament if you wanted, because now you have one single contract tracking every single game instance out there. Yeah, that's mostly it. We'll put back the slide in case you want to have. Sorry. Yeah, and if you have any more questions or any questions afterwards, we'll be around. Or if you could just go check on the docs page. And this is the link for the game. Thank you very much.
Thank you.